So, welcome to another exciting episode of Galatea Kills Everything, your #1 rated daily weather program from the city of Metropolis, where Galatea kills everything. We're on remote assignment in a pocket dimension tonight known as the Rocket of Eternity, and we've got our remote correspondent Galatea out here showing us how it's done with a raid solo. Now, this is the Rock of Eternity raid. We're doing this on casual just for demonstration purposes. Pretty much anybody can beat this raid with a group, but we thought it'd be nice to go ahead and give it a try with Galatea as a solo just to see what she can do. So she's out here and we're starting the fight now. Now this raid has two major phases, as it were. There's only two bosses in the raid, and the raid itself is basically just standing in one spot and fighting, which, to be frank, one of my favorite styles of raids. I like a good old test of strength, and our opponent in this one for the first one of these fights is going to be Felix Faust. Felix Faust is an evil sorcerer who has control of demons and the undead. And apparently he made some bad decisions because he was left with the awesome powers of, and I'm checking my notes here just to make sure I got this right, lethargy. He got the powers of lethargy from his little traveling companion, Black Alice there. Sounds like he might have gotten the short end of the stick, but ours is not to wonder why. Ours is but to kill that guy. Now, the first phase of this fight is pretty simple. You're going to battle Felix Faust until he gets down to about a quarter of his starting health. This is a good time for things such as orbitals or pets or other heavy damage output things, because you're basically going to have it consistently as a target until he gets to that quarter health mark. At that point, he's going to fall asleep for a moment because, well, when you're fighting a bunch of superheroes in the pocket dimension, it's always a good time for a nap. I'm pretty sure he should have had a little extra coffee before coming here this morning, but again, ours is not to wonder why. Well, the second phase, he'll pass out, he'll summon some ads. You want to kill the ads. Now, the ads here are not very strong. There are 8 or so of them, so you're going to have to do a little bit of footwork, go back and forth, make sure you kill them all, and then after you knock them out, Faust will be awake and you continue your DPS phase. Go ahead and punch him in the kidneys. He probably deserves it. He's definitely crossed a few people here and there throughout the course of his lifetime. He's not exactly what you can call a great guy. More like eats live puppies for breakfast, somewhere in there. Just kind of a shitbag in general. You will have a couple of ads around for general help in this situation. You're going to keep seeing that message, waking up harms your team. That's not going to apply to you unless you get hit by the sleep attack, and it's not going to apply to you if you do, because you don't have a team right now if you're running it solo. So you're fighting, you're fighting, you're fighting. One of the nice things about Felix is he is vulnerable to counters, so make sure you take advantage of that. He does have an attack where he's going to hit you with the lethargy wave. Now, it does tell you to move in close. You'll see that ring of sparkles around him a second ago. That gives you an idea as to what the range on that is. You want to just be inside of that ring, keep punching him, keep punching him, keep punching him, and eventually he's going to go back to sleep. Yep, that's right, folks. For some reason beyond all human comprehension, Felix Faust's #1 goal in this fight is to find enough time for himself to take a nap. Now, if you can line up the ads where you can take advantage of any AoE attacks, it is going to make killing them a little faster, but as stated, they're not very complicated. They're not very competent combatants by themselves. They fall over pretty quickly. They're really, really easy to get rid of. Just keep chopping away until you get to the next phase, and that's really about it. There's not a lot of other surprises in this section of the fight. Felix is a pushover, especially on casual here. He's a little more dangerous if you try the raid on its regular difficulty or elite difficulty, then it gets a little trickier. But right now, you're dealing with the ground floor mechanics, and, well, it puts the ground in the ground floor. He wakes back up, and we're just going to do this a couple more times. Very basic, lather, rinse, repeat. So while we're waiting for him to get done with his ass beating here, we're going to move over to a secondary question called mechanics. The mechanics of building specifically. What are we using in this fight? So this is a might-based ice tank, we're fighting with DPS gear to give us some more punch for our might. We do have some basic shields equipped. Now, the disadvantage to using DPS gear for this kind of build is that your shields aren't going to have quite as much durability because of the lack of dominance on DPS gear. There's still lots of restoration on DPS gear is the other part of that conversation. And the other side of that conversation is fighting out of the DPS gear, but with the tank roll, gives us that standing 65% defense burst that good old ice gets. Anytime it's on the board, you have that standing 65% boost to your defense. And in addition to that, anytime you have a shield active, it's another 35% improvement. So if you're starting with a default defense around 400k, your de facto defense by the point in time in which you have a shield active and you're in the tank roll is going to look closer to 800k. Ice is really kind of the king of just having a raw defense stat that's very, very high. Their raw defense stat is potentially higher than any other tank power set in the game. So, take advantage of that, use those shields, even though you don't have that dominance because of the DPS gear, it's still going to give you plenty of protection, and you get a lot of default protection just out of that anyway. This gives you a lot of space for damage building. Now, damage building has gotten a lot easier to do, especially in the last few weeks when we've gotten that second ability tray going on. You have 12 total slots now, so I've got an entire DPS loadout built into the top tray, and then the second tray, that's where all the shields and the actual supercharge lives. In my pure DPS loadout, I have my Ice Elemental supercharge in the top tray, because Ice Elemental doesn't have the same sort of cooldown situation that Neo Venom Boost does. But in this build, I'm not using Ice Elemental, I'm using Neo Venom Boost, which is fine, because I wanted my supercharge to be a damage gain supercharge, and if you're in tank, Ice Elemental focuses on defense and not DPS. That's majorly the big difference there. If you're in DPS, Ice Elemental gives you a standing 60% output boost, which is tied with Circuit Breaker, which is fucking awesome. It's not so great for a precision build, just due to the fact that you don't have access to precision weapon combos, but it's wonderful for a might build tank. Well, we're going to move into the second phase of the fight here. This is Black Alice. She is... I'm actually not sure what her backstory is. She appears to be an angry emo girl who is gifted with supernatural abilities and pissed off at the fucked up decisions that the adults in the DC universe make when they have access to the same supernatural powers. In her defense, she's not wrong. And that's really all there is to it. She's not wrong. The adults in the DC universe have made some phenomenally bad decisions. Even the good guys, I'm looking at you, John Constantine, don't always make consistently good decisions. But again, ours is not to wonder why. She's a bit more of an active fight than Faust was. She doesn't rely as much on ads. She instead focuses mostly on her ability attacks. And she does have two major phases to her fight as well. She's going to steal the abilities of Shazam, which is going to give her a wide variety of powerful lightning-based attacks. You can see that multi-hit projectile there. She has a lot of AoE coverage. She does fight out of standard brawling, so she is counter-vulnerable, but the range of different ability attacks she has might make it prohibitive for you to do that, unless you are dealing specifically with a tank build, which has the durability to get in there and really kind of mix it up with her. I'm not using a lot of counter game in this particular fight because this is a 100% might-based build. There's not really a point in doing counter at that point in conversation, because I'm also coming at it from the standpoint of using the interrupt mechanic. Specifically, I'm using channeling, which prevents the interrupt mechanic from working, which means you can just crack out damage all day and not worry about it. As long as you don't get out of your wheelhouse, you don't have to worry about being countered. Now, if you see her blocking, throw out that heavy ranged attack, because that's going to knock her on her ass, and that's going to get get you some of that sweet, sweet counter vulnerability for a little while, and that's going to allow you to chop her down a little bit faster. That's really what you want in this fight. So, as you can see, she switched over to the second phase now. She's got Dr. Fate's abilities, and I'm going to be honest with you, if you're fighting this with a tank on casual, there's not really going to be a noticeable difference in her performance or her output. You just keep cracking away at her, and you will get there pretty quickly. As you can see, she's already about 2/3 of the way through her health at this point in time. Generally speaking, she doesn't have a whole lot of variety in this fight. As you can see, once you finally get her down into the lower area, she combines those two into the same sort of channeled power abilities, and at that point in time she's going to be using attacks with both of their power sets at the same time. The things to watch out for: the Dr. Fate attack, where she can blow you up, that can actually do damage to your party. So if you're in here with other people, get the hell away from them. Get away from your pets or whatever it is that you're using at that point in conversation, because that'll prevent you from accidentally getting them killed as well. So you can see Galatea is in here, and she herself is pretty unfazed by all of the attacks in question. As a reminder, this is not elite, this isn't even regular, this is casual. So the kind of damage output versus the kind of damage intake you have is definitely in your favor here. You can whoop her ass. Take advantage of that. Well, we're getting down to the end of the fight here. Looks like we're starting to run out of good old soundtrack too. One more hit from the hit factory here as we wrap it up, and that was Black Alice. Now, this fight will give you some source marks as well as the opportunity for a couple of different pieces of equipment and some furniture, other standard raid stuff. You can complete this in about 12 minutes, and you can do it completely unassisted as long as you have relatively decent mitigation and a semi-completed endgame build. Something you do want to watch out for at the end of the fight: any ads that may have been following you in, they're going to show up. Just make sure you take care of them before you leave. And that's all there is to that one, folks. Well, thank you again for watching another exciting episode of Galatea Kills. Good fight. Good night.